Welcome everyone to another video, Vinyl Addict. This is Chili and it's a flashback day. And it's a flashback back to 1986. And I call this the rise of heavy rock. 1985, it was sort of like the end of pretty much the solo kind of artist reign. We had, Bruce Springsteen, John Cougar Mellencamp, which they would still make albums and stuff throughout the rest of the 80s, but it wouldn't be as prevalent as they were, Madonna, Michael Jackson and all them. They would, still be around, but not as much as the heavy rock acts that were coming in. And also 85 had those, Mr. type of bands, Hootie and the Hooters, not Hootie and the Blowfish, the Hooters, and We Danced, that kind of thing, Wang Chung, and kind of just like odd stuff. The Sting had solo stuff, and so 86 was coming in on a hard rock kind of vein. Now, before we get into this, please don't forget to hit the like button and share and subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet. And so let's get into this. At number 20, we have the debut. There's some debut albums here. Cinderella. Okay, this had Tom Kiefer is the lead singer of this group, and this was a pretty successful band and debut thanks to Bon Jovi, who had a big year this year with Slippery When Wet. And so these guys were kind of riding on their coattails, and they had the song Shake Me and Nobody's Fool, the twins in the video, and there they are, and all that stuff. And then backstage and goes to Bon Jovi. If you ever seen the video, I'm sure you have. You guys are not idiots, and you guys are cool. So Cinderella's at number 20. Now, another debut band that came in that year, not really into all the makeup and everything, but they still fucking rock, Tesla. And this is with the Mechanical Renaissance album. And when this came out, this was just like, I kept on playing it, I like Jeff Keith's vocals. This is the one with Coming At You Live. And there was a lot of songs on here that they were being played on the radio. Modern Day Cowboy, Changes, Little Susie. So this was a great debut from the Sacramento band, California, Tesla. Now the heavy rock veterans were still out there, just pushing it out. Iron Maiden was there with Somewhere in Time, and this is the album where Steve Harris kind of took a back seat, and Adrian Smith is the one who kind of wrote the songs, Wasted Years and Stranger in a Strange Land. Kind of kept the momentum going, kept the Maiden up the irons, enthusiasm going. I don't know what was wrong with Steve Harris at the time. He was just maybe burnt out, but thanks to Adrian Smith, he wrote these songs, and Eddie kept on going on for another day. So Stranger in a Strange Land, Summer in Time album, Iron Maiden. Now this is another group, Europe, which I don't know, they had a heavy synth sound and the kind of proggy thing going. Joey Tempest was like the poster boy, was giving kind of John Bon Jovi the fight of his life for like Pretty Boy, poster boy of the year, but good singer nevertheless. The Final Countdown, very catchy, that keyboard that they have there is the hook, so there you go. Europe. And now, I seen this guy play, and he was really amazing on this tour. Yngwie J. Malmsteen. This is the third album, Trilogy. Now, this is he started getting some play here. This is a kind of like a neoclassical shredding guy, much like Tony McAlpine and all these people back in those days. And he's right here, he's really going for like what Blackmore was doing, is trying to do some commercial songs, with a good singer and whatnot. And he had the song here, You Don't Remember, I'll Never Forget. because his prior albums, the first one, Rising Force and Marching Out, they still had a lot of heavy instrumental, classical kind of influenced music. He still kind of does it here, but then, you know, he has songs like Queen in Love, which was really cool, Fury, Fire, and then he has these two guys on here, the Johannes brothers. They do like keyboards and drums, Jens Johannes, and who later on would be in the Dio group. The keyboardist, yeah, this is a great band, and I saw this tour, and I saw the next one, you know, which he would recruit Joe Lynn Turner, ex-Rainbow singer, and he's always kind of following into, like, you know, Richie Blackmore's kind of shadow, doing things that he did, singing with, you know, getting the singer Graham Bonnet with Alcatraz. I mean, he's always kind of like, you know, doing things that Blackmore has done. We did a song with Dio, you know, which was Rainbow's first, Richie Blackmore, Rainbow's first singer, and he did a cover of Dream On, which was really great with Yngwie on the guitar. But this was the one right here, Trilogy, 1986. Speaking of Rainbow, this was an album that came out in '86. You know, they have disbanded Rainbow. He put it to rest. He was back with Deep Purple. You know, he went back to Deep Purple. He put this on hiatus. He told Joe Lynn Turner, you know, we're going to go do this Deep Purple thing. It's all cool. I'll be here. Never came back. But, so this is like live material and some unreleased stuff from all different singers that they've had. Dio, Graham Bonnet, the ones I just mentioned with the whole Yngwie thing, and Joe Lynn Turner. You know, there's some Westheim. I really love that. It's an instrumental track on here. Difficult to Cure, the instrumental of Beethoven's Ninth, his interpretation of it with the whole orchestra. This is really cool. So this is the final vinyl. It's a gatefold. I'm happy to have this one. And because Richie goes and does the Deep Purple thing, you know, with Ian Gillan, the original people. Ian Gillan was with Black Sabbath prior to that, which leaves Tony, and he goes with Richie back to Deep Purple, and this is what Tony Iommi is doing. You know, in '86, he actually just wanted to do a solo album, but the record label Warner Brothers says no, put Black Sabbath on there. That is the brand, you know, and a lot of people weren't buying it. You know, I did. I mean, I'm a Tony Iommi person. You know, people say, well, what are you, a Dio person, an Ozzy person, a Tony Martin? I'm a, you know, Tony Martin person. I'm a Tony Iommi person. I think that is Sabbath. So, it has some good songs in here. It is the one with Glenn Hughes on vocals, who was former Deep Purple vocalist. The Mark III lineup with David Coverdale, and he did high stuff and played bass. And so he comes in here and does the vocals on here. There are some songs like No Stranger to Love, which was on MTV, which was kind of like a rock ballad. It didn't really suit Sabbath, you know, but there were some cool things. He had Eric Singer on drums on here, and which would later be in Kiss. So he had like this whole young band on here, and some of it was cool, some of it was not, but you know what, it was still Tony Iommi, and he, you know, he rocks. So you can't say anything about Tony Iommi. If you do, well, you know, that's blasphemy. Okay, so coming in '86 was becoming popular was thrash metal, and of course Megadeth, the one who I think, you know, Dave Mustaine is the one who kind of put Metallica on the map with his riffs and writing of those songs that were on Kill 'Em All and whatnot. Ride the Lightning. See, he said even songs in Master of Puppets, which was this year, which I did not put on this list, this pile of, you know, representing thrash metal. Because Slayer was also put out an album, but I didn't put them on here. But I just really chose Megadeth as the spokesperson to represent thrash metal. And this is the album, Peace Sells But Who's Buying? Great album, great musicianship. the great Garth Samuelson, who died of a heroin overdose, was really awesome on this album. So, Megadeth. Now, what was going around in alternative music, Depeche Mode puts out very dark album, Black Celebration, and this album has A Question of Lust, which is a great song, Stripped, which was another great song, and so here those guys are. So they're around doing their thing, and there's, like I mentioned, like in the 80s, 85 and whatnot, you had, or even early, you had like the solo artists, and this one, Janet Jackson, she started making a name of herself. She had put this album out. This one had like One, Two, Control, Nasty, What Have You Done For Me Lately, The Pleasure Principle, When I Think of You. 5 singles off this album, sold very well. She recruited the 2 guys from the time, Jimmy Jam and Lewis, and they took her to Minneapolis, took her to the world of Prince, because they're Prince, people, and they have that Minneapolis sound, so they kind of revamped her, from her previous stuff, which was like forgettable, so she came back with a new sound, and which was the Minneapolis sound, which was a hit already. I mean, it was kind of, there's different artists that were coming out from there, but, she kind of saved it in a sense, because Prince was on to different other things, so there was Janet Jackson, Control, and speaking of Prince, coming in at number 10, Parade. This is a soundtrack as well, and probably like out of those 3 albums with the Revolution, Purple Rain, Around the World in a Day, which was that psychedelic rock, and this one, Parade, I think this was the best album, and the band, this band was so tight live. It was very jazzed up and very just full of improvisation, and he was taking all his older material and putting it into this this new sound live, and like I'm talking early stuff, like 2nd, 3rd, 4th album. So, but Parade was great. So there's number 10. And number 9, I mean, we still had some solo artists, but, on the rock end. We had Billy Idol, Whiplash Smile. This was a kind of like this album didn't, a lot of Idol fans didn't really care much for it. He kind of went kind of rockabilly on some songs on here, kind of Elvis-y with Sweet 16 and everything, and I liked the album. Don't Need a Gun was a great track. Same with To Be a Lover, that was the first single that came out of here. Steve Stevens, Can't Go Wrong, Billy Idol, that's the duo right there. And another person, Peter Gabriel, the album So. This he has kind of dominated this year, with videos. He was coming out with all kinds of strange videos that were just like breaking new ground, claymation and all kinds of stuff. Sledgehammer was on here. Big Time, which is a great one, and of course, Say Anything, the movie. That's that scene within your eyes. Paul Cusack is holding is that his name, the actor, holding the radio, the boombox up, and he's playing that song. And this actually contains Eddie Van Halen's favorite song of all time, and it's Red Rain. It's the first song on the album. If you haven't heard it, check it out. That's his first, Eddie Van Halen's. I wonder if they played it at his funeral, but Wolfie was pretty much telling the story about it, like how he introduced Eddie. His dad was introducing him to like his favorite song, and he shared it with them, and it was Red Rain. So that's really heartwarming, going into this era too, in '86, rap, hip hop, was coming in with full force with Raising Hell, Run DMC. This had how many songs on here. Like, It's Tricky, that was the video on there. My Adidas, but of course was Walk This Way, which was the groundbreaking video with Aerosmith bringing them back to life because they were gone. They had their issues, their drug problems, and they cleaned up, and this actually saved their life. Rick Rubin pretty much hunted them down and got, you know, Steven Tyler, Joe Perry in and to re-record Walk This Way, and it's a classic, of no doubt. And so I got the original one here, still got the, you know, hype sticker. So Raising Hell, this is a great album. And of course, veterans, the Stones are still, you know, out and about putting great music out. This was an album that they didn't tour for. The album before, Undercover the Night, they didn't tour for. And, you know, they were going through, Keith and Mick were going through some, you know, turmoil with their relationship, and you know, they were doing solo projects and whatnot, but they still turned out and, you know, came into the studio. Each of them separately, he'll come in, put something down, he'll come in and put something down, the other person's gone and whatnot. And this has this song One Hit to the Body, which they got Jimmy Page to do the lead solo on. Harlem Shuffle was on here, which was a successful song. It is produced by Steve Lillywhite. This is a Dirty Work. So Stones, 86. Now, here's a guy, David Lee Roth, Eat 'Em and Smile. This is a great album. You know, he just departed from Van Halen guys, and I'm kind of like, you know, I was kind of happy that he did, because we got to hear Steve Vai, and I think Steve Vai and David Lee Roth is so great together. It's too bad they only did 2 albums together, but I just thought listening to this album and you know, by himself with Steve Vai, and just like, it was just so zany and crazy, you know, and you know, Eddie was on his way to making different kinds of music, you know, and it was very, I mean, needed. I think, looking back at it, I'm kind of glad they kind of like separated, because this is awesome, you know. So Yankee Rose, Shy Boys, badass song, you know, Elephant Gun, Going Crazy, you know, and the videos were awesome. There was the Yankee Rose video, Give Me a Bottle of Anything, and a, you know, I forgot what it was, and a donut to go. Yeah, Yankee Rose, Eat 'Em and Smile, which of course brings us to Van Halen's 5150, and so love this album. I don't know, I mean, it was just, this was my Van Halen, because that's 86 and I was 16, so, you know, this was my Van Halen. The other Van Halens were like my older brother's Van Halens, and so this is when, you know, you're 16 and everything, you're starting to go to concerts, and so this was my Van Halen. So loved it from the beginning, just hearing him, Sammy, come in and saying, "Hello, baby," and then you hear Eddie and his elephant sounds and all his other tricks, and, you know, and there's just so much energy and so much, you know, I know there's so much life in this album, just like in the David Lee Roth one. I mean, it's just like, it's, like I said, it was great that they kind of like split up, you know, because I love Hagar's voice. You know, that guy has some pipes, and it's taken Eddie's playing, you know, Eddie said that because his range is so wide, that it opened him up to be a better musician, because he was able to do things he couldn't do with Roth, you know. And so there you go. That's why 5150 is just from beginning to end is great. I mean, the last song, Inside, is sort of just like, but I mean, you got Good Enough, Why Can't This Be Love, Get Up, Dream, Summer Nights. That intro to Summer Nights is classic. Best of Both Worlds, Love Walks In, 5150, that intro. I mean, that's something he could never do with Roth. I mean, it was just like, it was awesome. So 5150. Now we're coming near the end. In 3, we got Top Gun. You know, so this was a big success. Danger Zone, Kenny Loggins is on here, of course. Take My Breath Away was the big track. This was, this is Tom Cruise's year. And of course, I don't know why, but it's just that it seems like throughout the 80s, Cheap Trick is like on every soundtrack. I mean, I have so many soundtracks where Cheap Trick has a song in there, so it's there you go, Top Gun. Now, another debut, big success, Beastie Boys. This is my number 2, and this had spawned so many songs, hits on here. These 3 guys, Rick Rubin bringing in the whole sampling of old Zeppelin, AC/DC, mixing it with guitar. Kerry King is on here from Slayer, throwing down some leads. What is on here? Rhyming and Stealing. I love like most of the songs on here. Slow and Low, Just Let Yourself Go, Fight for Your Right to Party, of course, No Sleep Till Brooklyn, Paul Revere. Yeah, so this is a great debut album, and it was just like probably a year before they were opening up for the last person at number 1, who's pretty much sold 25 million copies of her album this year, and Beastie Boys opened up for Madonna. And so True Blue was the album of 86, sold like shitload of fucking copies. And she went on to become a stadium act, and got to see her in Anaheim Stadium. That was crazy, It's like, because I had, my ticket was free. My sister gave me a ticket, and me and my brother a ticket to go with her, and it was just like, Madonna's at the stadium. It's like, that doesn't seem right, but she did. It was, she put on her show, whatever, but it was like, yeah, I guess she really was popular at that time. You don't really know, until you may see their videos on a lot, and then but then when the magnitude of it, just like, I couldn't phantom that she would be playing at a stadium at that time. And I remember at the end of the show, she just kind of looked out to the audience and she said, you guys are the greatest. And she's on the video screen and she's saying, I am fucking the greatest, and everyone went nuts. So that was the Who's That Girl tour, but it was mainly, this is the album that Papa Don't Preach, Open Your Heart was on here, Live to Tell, that's a cool song. True Blue has that little 50s thing, and of course La Isla Bonita with the flamenco guitar. At this time, she always kind of made music that was at least kind of, challenging her audience. Now she's just like, I don't know. It's not really music at all. And so this is a Madonna that we don't have anymore. So this was the biggest selling album back then in 86. So there's the flashback of 20 albums, 1986. Do you agree? Is there other albums that I could have put on here? And comment below. I want to know. And like, share, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Later.